So let's jump right in. We talk about the future like it's this thing that just sort of happens to us. But what if it's actually being built right now, piece by piece? Today, we're going to peek inside a program that's designed to do just that.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? Where does the future come from? It definitely doesn't just show up out of the blue. It starts as a risky idea, a really tough question, or maybe a super bold experiment. It starts in places that are willing to take a chance on a total moonshot.
And that leads us right here to Japan's NEDO feasibility study program. The easiest way to think about it, it's kind of like a national incubator for the future. Its entire mission is to find those wild, high-risk, high-reward ideas. The kind of research that could solve massive problems, but is just a little too speculative for most private companies to touch, and give them the boost they need to get started.
Okay, now here's the part that really got my attention. You might think, sure, but most of these crazy ideas probably don't go anywhere. But get this, over 40%, more than 40% of these initial studies actually grow up to become full-blown national R&D projects. That's an incredible success rate for this kind of high-risk stuff. It shows this isn't just wishful thinking, it's a proven pipeline for innovation. So if this program is a pipeline for creating the future, where does it lead? Well, let's start with one of the biggest challenges on the planet, energy. How are we going to power our world cleanly and sustainably?
Well, one answer might literally be right under our feet. This project is looking into natural hydrogen. That's hydrogen that's just naturally created by geology and trapped underground. Researchers are mapping out potential spots, especially in places like Kyushu, trying to figure out how we can tap into this amazingly clean energy source. If they pull this off, it could be a complete game changer.
Another project takes us way out to sea. Japan gets some pretty intense weather, like typhoons, which makes building offshore wind farms tricky, to say the least. So instead of just building them and hoping for the best, they're using the insane power of supercomputers like Fugaku to simulate an entire floating wind farm. This means they can throw the absolute worst-case scenario weather at it virtually, making the real ones safer, tougher, and ultimately cheaper to build.
And this is a perfect example of how the program thinks globally. International shipping, a huge source of emissions. So this project is working on making clean ammonia a real viable fuel for those giant cargo ships that are the lifeblood of our economy. They're developing a whole system right on the ship, from using ammonia as fuel to capturing and reusing any unburnt vapor. It's a critical piece of the puzzle for a zero-carbon shipping industry.
But look, making clean energy is only one part of the equation. We also have to completely rethink what we do with all our stuff, our resources, our waste, and that brings us to the next massive challenge, building in a truly circular society. Now this is a big deal. We all know how tough it is to recycle plastic, right? Especially when it's all mixed together. Well, this project is creating a breakthrough in chemical recycling. And what's so smart about it? It's designed to plug right into the oil refineries we already have. It can take a messy soup of waste plastics, break them down into their basic building blocks, and feed them right back into the refinery. It basically turns our plastic trash back into treasure on an industrial scale.
And here's another awesome look at the circular economy. When a car gets to the end of the road, it's just this complex treasure chest of valuable materials. Instead of just crushing it into a cube, these AI-powered robots are learning how to do what they call precise dismantling. They're teaching themselves the best way to take a car apart, piece by piece, so they can recover super high-purity materials, like rare metals, that used to get totally lost in the shredding process. Okay, so we've gone from the energy that powers our world to the materials that make it up. Now let's look at how we get around in it. Our last section dives into projects that could completely revolutionize how we move and live. Yup, flying cars. But this isn't just about building a cool-looking prototype. It's about a much smarter way to do it. The researchers have built a digital flying car, basically an ultra-realistic video game where they can test every little thing, even terrible crashes, in total safety. All that data then gets used to build and perfect the real-world prototypes, complete with advanced safety systems like steerable parachutes. It just makes the whole process faster and way, way safer. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more sci-fi, there's this. This isn't a car at all. It's a concept for wearable flight technology, a personal flight system. But the goal here is actually super practical. Imagine a maintenance worker being able to just fly up to a wind turbine, or a rescue worker getting to someone in a disaster zone instantly. It's all about creating brand new ways for people in critical jobs to get where they need to go.
So when you take a step back and you look at all these projects, the natural hydrogen, the AI recycling, the flying cars, you start to see it's not just a random collection of cool tech. It's a real strategy. Every single one of these projects is a building block in this much bigger plan to create a future that's cleaner, smarter, and way more resilient.
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? I mean, some of this stuff sounds like it's straight out of a movie. But remember that 40% success rate? The question isn't really if these things will happen, it's when. So what do you think? Which one is going to change your life first? The clean energy powering your house? The recycled materials in the stuff you buy? Or, the flying car you see in the sky?